So before I begin, this is like a disclaimer. Sometimes I do jokes about my girlfriend that she finds like a little too personal, you know? So it's a problem, it really is. So we have a couple therapists, and we came to an agreement, which I have to follow, which is that anytime I do a joke about my girlfriend that she finds like a little too vulnerable, I should say it's about an ex. Yeah. Or I should say it's about my mom, because I do a lot of mom jokes. So that's what this next bit is. So I was going down to my mom last night. This is my mom. This is not my girlfriend. I am following the arrangement. I do couples therapy with my mom. And I learned a lot in it. I did. I learned that one of the reasons I started dating my mom is because on a subconscious level, she reminds me of my mom. She does. She really does. They're very similar, but that can be a problem, because sometimes I'll treat my mom like she's my mom, and that'll make my mom very mad. She does not like that, which makes sense. She's not my fucking mom. She's my mom, you know what I mean? One's my mom and one's my fucking mom. They're two different people. Anyway, my mom really hates that joke. She's not a fan. Neither of them really. Both of them hate that joke. So when I started writing this hour, I thought a good place to begin would be about 8 months ago, I did Joe Rogan's podcast. Now, I'm not a fan, but I did it because I'm a hypocrite. And they put it on YouTube, and I checked the comments, which is a terrible idea. You should never check YouTube comments, ever. We do it as comedians because we want to read the fucking nice comments. But the problem with that is on YouTube, the mean comments are always way meaner than the nice comments are nice. Like a nice comment's like, funny stuff, and a mean comment's like, you should have died in Auschwitz, you fat fuck. You're like, these do not balance each other out at all. I am at an ego deficit right now. Also, mean comments can sometimes be so accurate, they will haunt you on your deathbed. I still think about this one comment I got 10 fucking years ago. I think about it every day because it was so simple. This is all it said. It was very simple. It just said, big head, no neck, small arms. Yeah. You're laughing, but you're also like, he fucking nailed that shit. He fucking nailed that. Do you understand how upsetting it is to have someone insult you, but also just perfectly articulate everything you hate about your body? I was looking in the mirror going, that's fucking it. That's it. I was waving my T-Rex arms, that's it. Shaking my bobblehead, he nailed it. It was such a perfect amount of words. It was like being roasted by Hemingway. That's what it felt like. So I checked the comments on Joe Rogan, and about 10% of them were anti-Semitic, which is fine. I would rather you be anti-Semitic than call me fat any day of the week. I would, and let me tell you why. Because anti-Semitism is just wrong, so it's not as hurtful. You know what's not wrong? Big head, no neck, small arms. That is painfully right. I can't just be like, he's just bitter, you know? And scapegoating big-headed, no-neck people. Being fat is a bigger problem in my life. It just is. For example, I did not lose my virginity at 26 because I was morbidly Jewish all through high school. It didn't help, but it wasn't the main reason. My doctor didn't tell me to get less Jewy all the time, you know? You should get less Jewy for your health. So I did Rogan, and we talked about conspiracy theories. Now, I'm not really into conspiracy theories, and I know his fans are, so I was very polite on the show. I said, I'm not really into them. I think it's typically the brain finding patterns that don't really exist, and it completely ignores how much incompetence plays in every aspect of life. But I was very polite, and it led to about 5,000 people commenting that I was a piece of shit, cuck, asshole, motherfucker. And that was very liberating. Because what I realized in that moment is you don't have to be polite anymore. Because people will just hate you now if you disagree with them, which is liberating, because now you can just say whatever you feel. It doesn't matter. So here's how I actually feel. People who believe in conspiracy theories are fucking every single one of them. And I know there's some here tonight, you're fucking sorry. You're fucking idiots. And I said that after a show recently, and a guy was like, well, you know, half of Americans believe in some kind of conspiracy theory. Are you saying half of Americans are dumb? No, not at all. Way more than half of Americans. Are you out of your mind? It's like fucking 80%. Are you kidding me? Half? We should be so lucky. Half? And I don't mind that conspiracy theorists are dumb. The problem is they act skeptical. You're not fucking skeptical. I saw Mel Gibson on Rogan say he was just skeptical about the vaccines. Mel Gibson is an evangelical Christian. You cannot be skeptical and then pray to a virgin who gave birth to a Jewish wizard. That is not how skepticism works. You are believing shit that is wrong. And I know there's some Joe Rogan heads in here tonight, and I know what you're all thinking. You're like, well, he's good, man. He has different viewpoints on. That's what matters. One week he'll have a Holocaust denier on, but then the next week he'll have a different Holocaust denier on. We'll argue about the other Holocaust denier. He has different viewpoints, you know? Now, liberals are dumb too, all right? Liberals have their own version of the dumb conspiracy theory. Liberals' version of that is the horoscope. They're like, I hate the extreme right, which are crazy conspiracy theories. As an Aquarius, I'm not into that shit at all. When Biden dropped out, like a lot of comedians had like funny takes, none of them were as funny as this sincere tweet by this guy I knew in college who's like really into horoscopes. This is an actual tweet by a real human being. And I'm gonna read it to you out loud. He wrote, I cannot believe that he dropped out on a full moon. On Capricorn Day, in its 29th degree. And then he said, in this part I'm fucking obsessed with, he said, and I quote, you can't make this shit up. You can't make it up. Seriously, what are the fucking odds? What are the odds that something not real happened at the same time as something real? It's fucking crazy. And I don't want to spook you all out, but this is true. My balls were itching right when Trump got shot at. I swear to God. I swear to God. You know how people's knees act up with the rain? That's my balls with assassination attempts. I swear to God. I sharted 2 minutes before 9/11, folks. I swear to God. It's crazy. You cannot make this shit up. People who believe in horoscopes are fucking idiots. I'm sorry. Once again, some of you might be here tonight. You're fucking idiots. Just be religious, you pussies. If you're gonna be wrong, have some tradition behind it, you know? And if you're offended, it's not my fault. I'm a Gemini. That totally worked, by the way. A couple of you are mad, and then I said that, and you're like, you know what? That is how a Gemini would act. Even though Kamala lost, I'm glad Biden dropped out. I am. Because that debate between him and Trump, that was the most embarrassing shit I'd ever seen in my fucking life. I was like, really? These are our options? These are our options. A guy convicted of rape and a guy who looks like he just got roofied by a rapist? See Biden wobbling on stage? Trump was like, I feel like I'm on a date right now. This is awesome. Like taking him home later. That was the election for a little bit. The election was between a rapist and a guy who looked like he got roofied by a rapist. And America was torn. They were torn. They were like, this is really hard. This is tough. The rapist is more alert. He is more alert than the roofie guy. That's typically true of most rapists versus roofing people. I don't know. This is tough. And then we replaced the roofie guy with a woman who was like an annoying laugh. And America was like, this got even harder. This got... And I voted for the woman with the annoying laugh. I did. Which was going against my self-interest. Yeah. Because a rapist has never ruined a comedy show of mine. Like, Trump supporters are funny because they're like, liberals are so sensitive. That's what they all say. Liberals are so sensitive. And then you make one joke about Trump and they're like, shut the fuck up! Shut up! You do not talk about my daddy like that! Shut up! You fucking emotional! Easily offendable! Quit crying! I am not projecting at all! So I'll say one nice thing about Trump. I'm not a fan, but I'll say one thing. He does have a rare quality. You have to admit that, which is that he is a psycho, but he's pretty fucking funny. He is. He is, and that's a rare quality. There's not a lot of funny psychos through history. There just isn't. Like, Hitler was never slinging jokes. That wasn't... Hitler was never like Eleanor Roosevelt's a 4. Well, I'm just saying, have you seen her? She's fucking dog shit ugly, am I wrong? I wouldn't fuck her with a 10-foot pole, I'm just saying. If FDR can move, he'd have left that bitch a long time ago. That's all I'm saying. And that joke is actually more relevant than it appears, because polio is coming back. So that joke... What I like about RFK Jr. is that he's helping me relive my childhood by bringing back all the diseases that used to kill me when I played the Oregon Trail computer game. And that was an important part of my life in the 90s, you know? And now he's bringing it back all the time. He's bringing back, like, fucking typhoid. I'm like, I remember that killed my whole family. RFK Jr. is trying to create a registry now for, like, all autistic people. I don't know if you read that. He's trying to create a registry where he's trying to put the name of every autistic person in America into a giant database, which feels pretty autistic, if I'm to be honest. Feels like you should be number 1 on that list, right? I want to put everyone with autism in a giant Excel spreadsheet. But Trump is funny, he is. And a lot of liberals act like he's not funny, which is frankly gaslighting. It is. A lot of liberals will be like, he's not funny. He makes fun of other people for being unattractive when he's unattractive. That's not funny. Yes, it fucking is. That is what's funny. He's ugly and he calls other people ugly. That's fucking hilarious. He like thinks he's hot. It's fucking hysterical. He will call other people fat who are less fat than him. Which I totally get, by the way. Good. No, as a fat guy, you always assume other fat people are fatter. That's just how it works. That's our psychology. We have no community as fat people. None. I swear to God, every fat person in here, I think you're fatter than me, and you think I'm fatter than you. That's just how it works. Fat people have no community. Like, a black guy goes to a party and there's another black guy, they both nod. If a fat guy goes to a party and there's another fat guy, they both just think, thank God I'm not the fattest piece of shit at this party. Remember we were all like fat positive for 3 years? Remember that? That was fun for like 3 years. We were like, being fat is beautiful. There's nothing wrong with it. It's gorgeous. It's just a different body type. Nothing wrong at all. And then the minute Ozempic came out, we were like, just joking about all that. You call my bluff. I'm just joking. I always thought it was beautiful before I knew there was a cure for it. But if there's a cure... No, it's obviously gross, you know? I never liked the fat positive movement, you know? I never did, and I can talk about it. I'm part of the community. I never liked it for one simple reason. If you don't know the fat positive movement, it's, you know, it's usually like women overweight or posting online like, I'm fat and I'm beautiful, and everyone's like, you go, girl, you know? I never liked that movement for one simple reason, okay? Because I don't want people to be proud of me for being okay with being fat. I want people to fuck me. give a shit about your pride. Fuck your pride. Suck my dick. That's how I feel. I'd rather you fat shame me and fuck me than not fuck me and feel pride. I'd rather you be like, yeah, give me that dick, you fat little piggy, yeah. Oh, your tits are bigger than mine, yeah. Oink, oink, oink. I mean, I like that for a whole bunch of reasons we don't have to go into, but... All right, we'll go into them for a second. No, sometimes, you know, in bed during sex, I like for my mom to call me a fat fuck. I have a Jewish friend who voted for Trump, and I asked why, and he said, because Trump cares about Israel. And whenever you're in politics, it's really funny to imagine Trump caring about something. Like, what does that even look like? Trump's just like, there are only 3 things that matter in life. Money, whores, and a homeland for the Jews. Those are the 3 things I equally care about. Yes, I've ripped off everyone I've ever met, but how else are you gonna raise money to plant trees in Tel Aviv? You got a better idea? Do you have a better idea? I was performing in Germany not too long ago, and I was worried about performing there because of you know, and I was like, I don't know, how am I gonna feel even having them laugh? You know, what's that gonna feel like? I don't know what this says about me. I got my first laugh, and I was like, it's water under the bridge, honestly, it's fine. It's fine. Who even remembers who started the Holocaust? It was so long ago. They were the best crowds. They were amazing. Because I'm Jewish, so they just laughed at everything I said. Because they felt really, really guilty. It was awesome. I said I was Jewish. I got a standing ovation. It was incredible. And anytime a joke bombed, they'd be like, Auschwitz. You gotta hand it to Germany. They've gotten their shit together. They have. You know, I was there. I didn't see them kill one fucking Jew. They've gotten their shit together. They like pulled a 180, you know? Or not a 180, but you know. A 180 would be the mass-producing Jews. That would be a 180. I mean, that's just a mathematical fact. A 180 would be like a factory producing like 16,000 Jews a day for like a whole year. And then at the end of that, you're like, all right, you're back to square one. You pulled a 180. But they have gotten their shit together. You gotta hand it to them. Like, if you even draw a swastika now in Germany, they'll throw your ass in jail. They used to fucking love swastikas. And now you even try to draw one, they'll throw your ass in jail without even hesitating. I fucking love that. It's like, even though they're no longer Nazis, they're still like kind of being Nazis about it. It's like they still don't get it. It's kind of adorable, really. It's just like within them, you know? They're like, we're no longer Nazis. In fact, who even draws a swastika? Onto the train right now! Get on the train, you Nazi bastards! Schnell Nazis! That was close. I almost did a Roman salute. I gotta be careful. Remember when Elon Musk did that? Remember he tried to pander to his ancient Roman Empire base? And you gotta get that fucking ancient Roman Empire base on your side, you know? And when he got called out on it, the salutes, he had a quote, and I love all his quotes because they're always amazing. He had a quote where he said, "This is just a dirty trick by the media to bring me down." And once again, whatever your politics, it is extremely funny to imagine that as a dirty trick by the media. Like they're all just gathered one night, the media, and one of them's like, I got a real dirty trick. And they're like, what is it? He's like, are you ready for this? It's dirty. The next time Elon Musk does a Hail Hitler salute back to back on national television, we're gonna be like, what the fuck? That's a dirty trick, right? That's dirty. It's a dirty trick. Anyway, just gotta wait for him to do that Hail Hitler salute back to back. and then the plan is activated. There's a lot of anti-Semitism out there, but it's interesting because it's hard to be an anti-Semite in a way because Judaism is a big part of all our culture, whether we realize it or not. So it's hard to be at least consistent if you're an anti-Semite. Like, I don't know if you know this, but Jews, we created circumcision. Did you know that? That's us. That's in the Bible. In the Bible, God said to the Jews, I want you to cut off all the tips of your dicks. And the Jews were like, sure, but could you have just created us without the tips? You gave us the tips. This was your idea. You were like, I'm gonna give them tips, okay? Now you're giving them to us, and now you're asking us to cut them off. How about you just don't give us the tips? This is the most roundabout way to have us remove our tips. I don't get, did you forget? You were like, oh, we didn't give them tips. Oh, we gave them tips, fuck. I'm gonna have to have a really awkward conversation with them now. I just don't get it, Why, like, did you think it would look good? And then you saw it and you're like, that ain't right. I'll tell you that much. I've never seen a dick, but that ain't it. That is not, it is missing something, I'm paraphrasing, but that's pretty much what it said, and now most people are circumcised whether they're fucking Jewish or not. Sir, are you Jewish?
Yes.
Fuck. All right, anyway. Specifically said no Jews in the fucking front row. I was very fucking specific about that. Anyone looks Jewy, do not put them in the front fucking row. It's fucking up my crowd work bit. You're also Jewish? I like how you're just giving up. I'm Jewy too, don't even fucking try me. I wasn't, I saw your look, it's fucking... I bet Hasidic Jews don't even ask you if you're Jewish. They just put the shit on you, right, on the street. Yeah, let me put the tefillin on. I'm not Jewish. I don't fucking believe you, and that's not true. All right, you look very scared and Asian, so I'm gonna ask you. You're not seeing this look, but he's like, don't ask me. You're not Jewish, are you? All right, fucking, that's right. Are you circumcised?
Yeah.
Yeah? Cultural appropriation. That's fucked up. Would have gone there a lot quicker without your fucking Jewish ass fucking up my joke. Fucking hate Jews, I get anti-Semitism because it really does feel good to be like, fucking Jews. Like, it just feels good just to be like, fucking Jews. I'll never get that feeling of just being like, the fucking Jews. So most people are circumcised, whether they're Jewish or not, which is interesting to me, because that means most anti-Semites in America are circumcised. A Jewish custom. That's got to be a real conflict of interest. I almost feel bad for them. That's got to suck. To be anti-Semitic in your heart, but know your dick is Jewish. That's like if Tucker Carlson had a giant afro he had to comb down every day. Sometimes people say something's like anti-Semitic, and I'm like, I don't know if that's anti-Semitic, Like, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of people, or I don't know if a lot, but a decent amount of people think that Harry Potter is anti-Semitic. Did you know this? Because of the goblins in the bank. They're like, that's an offensive Jewish stereotype. Here's my thing. Isn't it anti-Semitic to think that's anti-Semitic? Isn't that the anti-Semitic part? To just be like, well, clearly, those goblins are Jews. What else? What else could they be? They're goblins who work at a bank. They're big-nosed, ugly goblins who work with money. It couldn't be more obvious. And don't get me started on these fucking Oompa Loompas. Bunch of short dudes singing and dancing. That's an offensive Puerto Rican stereotype. I grew up in Kentucky. I grew up poor, Jewish poor, which is upper middle class for anyone else. And I only had one anti-Semitic experience, which I'll tell you about. I was 15, I was walking with my friend, he was also Jewish, he had a yarmulke on, and a car drove by, and a woman rolled down the window, and she said, "Hey Jews, here's a quarter." And she threw a quarter out the window, which was fucked up, because I had to pick it up. And that's not a Jewish thing, that's a human being thing. All of you would have picked up that quarter. That is not a Jewish thing, that's a human being thing. Everyone picks up a quarter. Elon Musk picks up a fucking quarter, okay? And that's the problem with anti-Semitism. We act like only Jews care about money. Everybody cares about money! It's not like it's just Jews and everyone else is a fucking hippie. Have you seen the world? Everyone cares about money. Everyone would have picked that quarter up. That's not a Jewish thing. That's a human being thing. As a human being, not as a Jew, I had no choice but to bend down and pick it up and put it in a high-yield savings account that's doing very well. I don't know. Humanity, we're not great, you know. We're full of prejudice and cruelty. We're not great, you know. I mean, we have good parts and bad parts, you know. Well, here's a good part of humanity. Like, my girlfriend at home has a shampoo that says cruelty-free on it, right? Which is great for her. She's a hero. And that's great. That's great. That's great. That's a good part of humanity. It's great that we're making humane products that people are buying to try to be better. That's the good part of humanity. Here's the fucked up part about humanity. What is going on with the other shampoos? That cruelty is just an ingredient in most shampoos. Do we even deserve to survive as a species if we can't even create hair products without committing atrocities? Cruelty should not be an ingredient in any shampoo. And you certainly shouldn't have to pay extra to not have it in there. At least the cruelty should be the extra charge, like a tax. Why is fucking cruelty part of most shampoos? I mean, obviously it has to do with lab animals, but what the fuck is going on there? It's just shampoo. Just some, like, scientist talking to his underling, like, "Did you put the shampoo on the rabbit's head?" He's like, "I did." "Did it clean the rabbit's head?" "It did." "Okay, great. Shoot his family in front of him right now. I want you to shoot his entire family in front of him. And then I want you to electrocute his balls for the next hour and a half. That's how we create the silkiness of herbal essence." I went to Auschwitz a couple months ago with my girlfriend, and it's true, I was thinking about proposing to her there, but it would have been fucked up, but it would have been fucking hilarious, you know? I feel like the lights just went out. I feel like we should really maybe fix that before I continue. All right. Problem is, I shat my pants right when that happened, so we got about 50 minutes left, and then I can change. Yeah, I was in Auschwitz. I was with my girlfriend. At one point, I don't have a joke for this, but this happened as a comedian. I can't not tell you. I have like an obligation to tell you. We were on the door. It was freezing. It was like 0 degrees outside. And we were walking around outside. And at one point, the tour guide goes, "All right, next we're gonna go inside into the crematoriums." And the American next to me went, "Thank God, it's fucking freezing out here." And that was an important moment in my life. I've been pretty hard on America lately, you know? But in that moment, I was like, you know what? We still got it. We still got it. Canadian ain't doing that shit, you know? So yeah, I'm down on humanity, but I like to remind myself that, even though we're shitty, we used to be a lot shittier. And that gives me a little hope as America collapses. It does. We used to be a lot shittier. I was reminded of this recently. My cousin had a bat mitzvah. I don't know if you know bat mitzvahs, but when you're 13, you read a chapter from the Bible to the whole congregation. And my cousin, she's Reformed. I grew up conservative. In conservative Judaism, you do the whole service in Hebrew. Reformed Jews, they do it all in English. They're like the liberal hippie Jews, you know? They are. There's always a lesbian rabbi at every synagogue. Every synagogue. It's like a law. It's like you know how lifeguards have to be hot, like lesbian rabbi at every. They're like eating out their girlfriend on stage during the ceremony, and they do the whole service in English. So my cousin had to read a chapter from the Bible to the whole congregation. Now the problem with that is not every chapter in the Bible really holds up. So this is 100% true. 13-year-old girl on stage, 300 people in the congregation, her parents smiling proudly behind her. And I guess she had never seen that chapter before because she opens it and she looks down and she's like, when a slave offends you, you cut off his right arm. That's what you do. If he offends you again, you execute him. These are the laws I, God, have commanded you. And I'm in the back going, yeah, that's why we do this shit in Hebrew. So it's a weird time to be a Jew. It's a weird time to be a liberal Jew with Israel, you know. You feel very conflicted. I hate the Israeli government. I hate the war, but I'm also very aware of the anti-Semitism, you know. And it's tough. I've been trying to learn about Israel more. I've been trying to read an objective book about Israel, but it's very hard to read an objective book about Israel. Turned out the book I read by Yehuda ben Schwartzberger had a very different perspective than the one by Mohammed Zahid. Here's a new rule. No Jew or Muslim should ever be able to write a book about Israel. We need to get like a Filipino to write a book about Israel. Yeah, everyone's very angry, I get it. I was watching the news maybe 8 months ago, and I saw these student protesters in Colombia, and I support the right to protest, and these cops came in, and I saw one of the student protesters yell at a cop to get a real job. Whatever you feel about cops, that's gotta hurt. That's gotta really. That's definitely the cops' rock bottom, you know? To be told to get a real job by an undergrad philosophy major. Get a real job, okay? Now, excuse me, I'm late for my class, the lyrics of Taylor Swift. But yeah, it's hard. Everyone's picking sides. No one has any real nuance. Do you all know the porn star Mia Khalifa? Lebanese porn star, big tits. That's neither, here nor there, but I'm trying to paint a picture. And so during October 7th, during the massacre, she tweeted out something kind of celebrating the death of the civilians. And I get being really angry at Israel, but anyone celebrating the deaths of civilians on either side, it's disgusting, you know? And it was really... It was really hard for me to hear. Because I had been a really big fan of hers. Like a really big fan. And I know what you're gonna say. I know you're supposed to, try and separate the artists from their hardcore pornography, but it's hard. It's very difficult. How could I, in good conscience, continue masturbating to this woman while she's getting gangbanged by an entire college basketball team and still feel good about myself? The answer is reluctantly. But it's tough, you know. I'd be watching her getting bukkakeed on, you know, while her husband's like gagged in the corner of the barn. And I'd be like, something about this just doesn't feel right, you know? Just feel icky right now, you know? I don't know why dick's at my hip. I don't know, but anyway. I feel like nowadays having it here is like a sex crime, so I put it here. Now I'm just covered in this Jew's face. That's fine. And so I stopped masturbating to her. I couldn't do it. And, you know, the dick has more tribal allegiance than you think. And I started masturbating to an Israeli porn star. Bracha. Chemda. And I do not like being ideological about porn. I don't like to do it. But I started doing it, you know, and, you know, it was good, you know. I feel like my mom can finally be proud, you know, and just that I'm doing something Jewish, you know, and she was good. She was a good porn star. She was really into BDSM. I don't know if you know that. It's like bondage, domination, sadism, masochism. She wasn't so much into BDS. Boycott, divest, sanction. She was not. So I was masturbating to her. It was going well. And then one day, I was flying to Texas. And I'm on the plane, and it's shaking. And I'm afraid of turbulence. And now I've actually recently learned a trick, like an exercise to do to keep you from being afraid of turbulence. If anyone's afraid of turbulence, you can try it. Next time you're on a plane and it's shaking, just close your eyes. Think about all the dreams in your life that didn't come true. And eventually you get so sad, you're kind of okay dying. It works really well. It's really good. I was on the plane, it was shaking. I'm like, let's fucking have a crash. I'm so sad, you know? So I look over to my left, and who do I see across the aisle but the Israeli porn star, which is very exciting, you know? And so I say, excuse me, are you Bracha? She says, I am. And I said, you know, I hope this doesn't come off as like weird or anything. I've jacked off to all your work. And we started talking. It was going well, you know. It was a good conversation, you know. But then at one point, the topic of Palestinians came up, and she said she didn't think the Palestinians deserve their own homeland. Never meet your heroes. So I stopped. I couldn't do it anymore, you know? I stopped masturbating to her. I started looking for a porn star with like a more nuanced view of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. But it was very difficult. That is not a category on Pornhub. It is not. And they have a lot of categories, you know? And you know, call me an optimist, but I still believe that one day, in this divisive world, one day I will be masturbating to a porn star with a nuanced view of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Yes, a porn star who can hold both Netanyahu and Hamas accountable. A porn star who can be against the illegal settlements in the West Bank, but also acknowledge the anti-Semitism on the left and the right. A porn star who can see Israel for the paradox it is. For the Jews, a safe haven before, during, and after the Holocaust. And for the Palestinians, a land that they were often cruelly displaced from. And I'm happy to say, 2 days ago, I found that porn star in the Filipino category. It was very exciting. So anyway, I did Joe Rogan's podcast, and And now I'm trying to figure out what comedian I want to be, because that's more of a conflict for me than even the Jewish thing, you know? Because there's only really two types of comedians you can be now, right? There's the Joe Rogan kind of pro-fascist, anti-woke comedian, you know? They'll make fun of anyone except for people in positions of power, you know? So there's like that comic, the pro-fascist, you know, comic, and then there's the other type of comic, just the crowd work comic. That's half of comics now. They're just like, what do you do for a living, you know? Every comedian, or at least half of them, work for the Census Bureau now. It's insane. It's insane. It's the most empty, they're like, how many residents in your household, you know? So those are the two comics I have to decide. Do I want to be like the crowd work comic or the pro-fascist comic? But I believe in nuance and I believe in the dialectic. So lately, I've been trying to combine the two. So this is me trying to combine crowd work and fascism, okay? The two big types of comedy. Are you two a couple? How long have you let conspiracy theories erode your faith in democratic institutions? Anyway, so, in conclusion, if there's been any theme tonight, I think it's obvious that it's Hitler. So I'd like to end on two Hitler jokes. But these are top shelf Hitler jokes. So I was reading a book about Hitler recently, and it said a couple historians believe that Hitler might have been a quarter Jewish. That's like a theory. When I read that, I was like, God damn. They really do blame everything on the Jews, don't they? Even Hitler is our fault, really? Can we at least not be blamed for Hitler? Can at least? But even Hitler, just another scheming Jew, apparently. Another fact about Hitler, this is true, you can look this up, he got prescribed speed every day by a doctor, which I believe is the greatest argument against Adderall. Not everyone should be focused. Yeah. Sometimes just gotta let people have ADD, you understand? I'm just saying, if someone asks for Adderall, maybe take a look at their to-do list first. How about that? Ask them their plans, you know? The world would have been better for everyone if Hitler was like, I want to kill all the... What's that shiny thing over there? Oh, it's a quarter. You got to pick up a quarter. Thank you all. You've all been wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you all so much. You've all been so great. Thank you all so much.
The sky turns blue, and the whole world goes along. The whole world goes along. The whole world goes along with you.